Hi there, welcome to the Futurely demonstration. We like to keep it really simple, so when your school signs on, each student will get a unique login. So they'll simply log in and they'll be then presented either with the initial page, if they're brand new, or if they've already been and visited, it brings them back to a welcome back page. But if they're new, they will be presented with our FitFinder assessment, which is based on 60 years of research, and it's really intentional, and it actually then incorporates some sort of TikTok style videos where students kind of understand what's to come and are encouraged to take their time, and then they'll be presented with the FitFinder. And the best part about it is that there's 10 very intentional questions that get to the bottom of their strengths, their talents, what they see themselves doing, also what they don't see themselves doing, just to make sure that we really understand who they are and how they want to spend their time and how we can use their strengths to give them as many opportunities as we can when they're at the end of high school or even when they leave. So they're really purposefully created, but are also short. So 10 concise questions, and the whole FitFinder should be done within 5 minutes. And the great part is they can always go back as well. So if they take it one day and a few weeks later, they're like, well, actually, I'm really good with my hands and I'd like to include that in the FitFinder, they can go back and redo the quiz, and they'll get a whole list of new recommendations based on those strengths. So I'll just take you through the next few questions, nice and slow. And most questions, they can make multiple choices, which gives us a clear picture of who they are without overwhelming also the systems. If they were to, say choose all 10, that's probably not really reflective of who they are. So we give them that 3 to 4 options so they can really understand, okay, hang on, I've only got 4 choices. Which of these actually describes who I am? And I really particularly like this question because it asks, what they don't want, what would frustrate them. Because the last thing we want is our students and young adults choosing something on a recommendation that they'll actually loathe and end up spending money at university they didn't need to, or feel like they've lost, or been, encouraged into a field that really wasn't for them. So we really try to give them a really large scope of questions, but it's kept concise, so we keep their attention versus an hour-long diagnostic test that really doesn't help them decide what they want to do as their next steps after high school. All right, almost there. And again, there's no time limit. They can take their time. They can go back anytime. And whatever recommendations are seen are saved as well. And of those recommendations, they can actually add whatever they like to their favorites list. And that'll always be waiting for them whenever they're logged in. Almost there. Okay. Of the students I've had complete it so far, they really like this question. It's just like, you've got options. It doesn't always have to be university. Maybe it's an option, maybe it's not. Or maybe one of the students is really keen on a trade. That's definitely an option for them. Now, these are the countries we're launching in, but if your school invests, then it will know automatically that what country your students are in. And there's another TikTok video that just encourages them to sit tight while we collate their pathway options. So that takes about 30 to 60 seconds, depending on how many items they've chosen for their questions. And we do encourage it to take its time because we do want the recommendations to be really personalized. And then once that's done, they're presented with a list of a number of opportunities they may not have ever heard of. If they don't like them, they can find more options. And if there's one they do like, they click on it and they're given a brief description of what that job entails, if they need to go to university, what their ATAR might be, a salary range, and then they go in like, oh, I like this. They pick the state they want to study in or live in. And then again, they'll get more catered information to tell them exactly what to do if you want to go to TAFE or if you want to go to uni. And if they really like it, then they have an opportunity to actually save it in their favorites list or unsave it, should they decide that's not for them anymore. But it's a really clear option and a really clear roadmap on how they would get there if it is something that interests them. And they can always go back to the recommendations and find their favorites list as well. And that's something they could refer back to or share with teachers or parents. Any questions? Don't be afraid to reach out. Thanks.